In this video, we're going to be identifying solutions to linear inequalities that are in two variables. Okay, so we've got this inequality here, 9x minus 5y is greater than 15. And we've got some x's and y's over here that we need to plug into this inequality to see if it actually works. And what I mean by work is that the inequality has to be true after we do all the calculations on both sides of this inequality. Okay, so what we're going to do is take this inequality, 9, and instead of the x, I'm going to write a parentheses, minus 5, and instead of the y, I'm going to write a parentheses, is greater than 15. Now, inside those parentheses, I'm going to put the first possible solution that we have here, which is 5 for x, so I'll put the 5 there in place of the x, and the 6 in place of the y. Okay, so when I multiply these out, 9 times 5 is 45, and 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, and 45 minus 30 is 15. So we end up with the inequality 15 is greater than 15. And of course, that's not true. If this was greater than or equal to, then we could say, yeah, that's definitely true. But there's no line underneath, so 15 is not greater than 15. So this is no. I'll just put a little dot there on no. Okay, let's try the next one. So 9 and a parentheses minus 5. There's my parentheses for y is greater than 15. And in my next one, I'm going to input negative 2 and negative 7. Okay, so this gives me negative 18 when I multiply. And this gives me positive 35 when I multiply is greater than 15. Okay, and then 35 minus 18 is 17. So 17 is greater than 15. That is true. Okay, 17 is greater than 15, so that is a solution. Okay, now let's try the third one. So 9, here's my parentheses, minus 5, here's my parentheses, is greater than 15. And now I'm going to put the 0 for x and the 4 for y. 9 times 0 is 0, so that goes away. And negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. So is negative 20 greater than 15? No, it's not. So we'll put that as a no. Okay, and then finally, let's do that last one. So we have 9 times parentheses minus 5 times parentheses is greater than 15. And in those parentheses, I'm going to put the 3 in place of the x and the negative 1 in place of the y. So 9 times 3 gives me 27. Negative 5 times negative 1 gives me 5, positive 5. Okay, and if we add those together, 27 plus 5 is 32, and 32 is greater than 15. So this is a solution to this inequality. Okay, let's try another one. So on this one, we have the inequality, and notice that we don't have a y. There's no y. So when we go to plug these numbers in, there's no place that we can plug in the y, so we just won't do it. The only thing we're going to plug in is the x value. So that makes this one quite a bit easier and quicker to do because all we're going to be doing is plugging in the x values. Okay, so here's my x values, the 2, the negative 2, the negative 5, and 3. So I just have to write each one of those in place of the x and see if they're true. So the first one, put a 2 in place of the x, so 2 is greater than negative 2. Is that true or false? Well, 2 is greater than negative 2, so yes, that's a solution. The next one, negative 2. So is negative 2 greater than negative 2? Well, that is false. If it had a line underneath and say greater than or equal to, we could say it was true, but there's no line. So no, that's not a solution. Let's see, negative 5. So negative 5 is greater than negative 2. Is that true? No, it's not. Negative 5 is less than negative 2, so that's also not a solution. Okay, and then the last one, we've got the negative 3 there. So negative 3 is greater than negative 2. Is that true or false? That one is also false. So this one was good, and these 3 not good. Okay, let's try a couple more. Okay, so here's our next problem, and I've already written out all of our problems here, so we can just put in the x's and y's. So we have 6x plus 5y is less than or equal to 2, so I wrote it down 4 times because I have 4 different possible solutions, and the x goes in the first parentheses and the y goes in the second. X, y, x, y. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do the first one. I'll do it right here. So I've got -8 and I've got a 6. Okay, so -6 times -8, or 6 times -8 is -48. And then 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, and -48 plus 30 is -18. So is -18 less than or equal to 2? Yes, yes it is. So that is a solution. Okay, let's do the next one, the 7 and the 8. So 7 goes in place of x, and the -8 goes here. So that gives me 42, and 5 times -8 is -40, so -40 is less than or equal to 2. 42 minus 40 is 2. So 2 is less than or equal to 2. Now that one's going to be true because we have the equal to sign underneath. 2 is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so that will be a yes. That is a good solution. Okay, let's try this next one. The -4 goes in the x, and the -3 goes in the y. Okay, so we get 6 times -4, which is -24. And then we get 5 times -3, which is -15. It's less than or equal to 2. So they're both negative, right? And when we add up two negative numbers, you just add them and keep the sign. So that would be -39 is less than or equal to 2. Is that true or false? It's definitely true. -39 is less than or equal to 2. So another good solution. Okay, and then finally, let's do the 2 and the 0. So the 2 goes in the x, the 0 goes in the y. The 0 one is going to go away completely. So we get 12, that's 6 times 2. It's less than or equal to 2. Is that true or false? That is, nope, false. Sorry, I didn't mean to put a check mark there, but 12 is definitely not less than or equal to 2. So that's the only one that is not true in that inequality. Okay, one more. So this time, kind of like the problem we did for problem number 2, we only have a y. Okay, so if we only have a y, we don't have to use the x's. There's nowhere to put in all these x's. So the -2, the 9, the 5, the -8, they're all going to get ignored. We're only going to be using these numbers, -1, -24, 11, and 13, because they're the y's. Okay, so let's do that. The first one, we put the -1 in place of y. Is -1 less than or equal to 0? Yes or no? -1 is less than or equal to 0, so yes. Next one, -24 less than or equal to 0. True or false? That is true. Okay, let's look at the next one. 11 is less than or equal to 0. Is that true? No, it's not. That is no, not a good solution. And then we've got the last one. 13 is less than or equal to 0. And that's also false. Okay, so no. And that's it.